So given that there was an increased threat to President Trump's life, was he provided a full security complement akin to what a sitting U.S. president would receive?
He was provided a full complement of security based on the threat assessment that we had.
That's not my question.
And the venue.
My question is, if he'd been the sitting president, would he have had the same security he had on July 13th, or would have been beefed up?
There is a difference between the sitting president.
So your answer is he did.
And continuity of government and the responsibility that we have.
Just yes or no. Just be honest. Like, all these dodging, all these, reframing the question, like, is making you look suspect. And at this point, a lot of people who are saying conspiracy, a lot of all these safeguards and checks and balances, they couldn't all fall to the wayside at this critical moment. Well, what? 3 months away from the election? Like, you're telling me this is probably when things should be ramping up. I don't know. Like, come on. You can't say you did the best you could and then this shit go down.
You are now listening to Pree Da Production with your host, Majaro.
What is up, my tribal people? Welcome back to another video on the Pree Da Production YouTube channel. I'm your tribal chief, Majaro, aka Image. And you already know what I'm going to say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Because trying to grow the community and by sharing this with your friends and family, that goes a long way in helping us do that. And leaving a super thanks is always appreciated. Now, let's get into it. So, what do you guys want to talk about? I mean, it's not as if the former president of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, almost getting assassinated live on national broadcast TV. Oh my God. It's been a good 10, 11 days. I wanted to let the dust settle, get the most information out, get some answers as best as possible before I jumped on a video. But let me just start off with the day. I woke up, having a lovely day with my family, a lovely morning with my family, only to look on my YouTube on the TV and be like, Donald Trump shot at, assassination attempt. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Only to come and find out that it was a whole madness. Let's have a look.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Crazy.
Moving his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold on. Your head is bloody.
So we got to move too much.
These guys are so incompetent. Move the damn podium.
Watch out.
Wait.
And it was at that moment we knew he was winning. Literally, man got shot at. Many men wished death upon Trump. Not that day. He got up like a trooper and he said, fight. And that's what the whole message after that. And we've all seen the picture. We've all seen him with the Secret Service, shielding him and his fist in the air with the American flag in the background. As soon as I saw that picture, I was like, that's going to be printed on posters, t-shirts, flags. It's going to be crazy. Like, the amount of respect he's gotten for a lot of people, the amount of just inspiration from seeing that go down like that. I'm not going to lie. It was a moment. Not for the best reasons, but it was a moment nonetheless. And since that moment, a lot has been made up of, the crowd reacting. There's certain people literally just stood there frozen in the crowd, like acting like shots ain't gonna rain down more. Like, there's a lot have been made about the Secret Service, how they handle the incompetence of the perimeter, the incompetence of, people on the ground. Like, there was people saying, we've been telling them, for a good 5 minutes, like, there's someone up there, there's someone, with a gun on the roof. Like, there was no communication. There was none of that. since everything has been unveiled and unraveled, the incompetence has been fully exposed. I mean, you would think these were scouts. You would think these were like Girl Scouts, Children Scouts, Boy Scouts. You think there was some level of not even like Air Cadet, no, reserve, no, nothing. You'd be thinking these guys are not even state troopers, bruv. Not even fucking, community police. But the Secret Service and the amount of things that went wrong, whether it was communication, whether it was logistics, whether it's securing entrances and exits, whether it's occupying buildings, rooftops, whether it's having a fucking drone. Man's got a drone in the bag right now, can pull it up and take it anywhere and have a visual lock on, like what, a good 2 miles maybe, right? But these guys are the most sophisticated, high-tech, billion-dollar industry in that, military-industrial complex. Couldn't whip out a DJI drone to survey the area for the whole duration of the event. Not one. I haven't heard anything about having their own drone. But you do know who had a drone? The shooter. The shooter had a drone and scoped out the place hours before the event. All I know is, drones, they're going to be cracked down on commercial drones. I know that for a fact. And that's a shame because they didn't do their job. Now, the good people who love to drive drones and fly drones, we're going to have to suffer because there's going to be more scrutiny on us. Why are you bringing that drone out? This is a X, Y, and Z. But that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. And now, after a couple of days, we've had the chance to question the head honcho, the Secret Service. I think her name is Kimberly something. Literally. I tell you this before we watch the absolute grilling, the absolute roasting of her incompetent leadership. I can tell you hand-heartedly, she is cooked. She's finished. The amount of stupid answers, non-answers is wild. Let's just have a look.
Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, "The assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false." The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said, "That is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed." But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: "Top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel." The next day, the New York Times said this: "Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail." So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Ooh, nail it to the cross, looking like
Neither,
T-zone.
sir. And I appreciate the question.
Well, what's
Neither. So you're saying we didn't accept and gave him more support and we didn't deny anything? What, you're saying the request weren't even filed? Stop the cap. Stop the cap. We can probably get evidence. Trump's team will be straight on that. Like, here are the receipts. Nail to the cross.
What were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell him no, and what'd you tell him no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on...
We're not talking about general terms, bruv. We're talking about the former president of the United States that is able to run in this current election cycle. This is the most, next to the president, this is the most vulnerable person. They need to be literally on the same level at this point. Right? And for you to be saying, oh, resources need to be allocated in a general sense, so we can't always do X, Y, and Z on request, blah, blah, blah. That's basically what you're saying. We looked at the assessment and we didn't believe it needed any more than it needed. I mean, bruv, I don't care what you think. If someone's requesting, we believe this needs to be looked at. We need more security, whether it's people, whether it's technology. You didn't give them none of that. And the funny thing is, right, the people that they sent on that job to secure the president, it's been reported that a good majority of them were basically reserves. They've been dusted off saying, yeah, you want to go on the day out, look after the president real quick. This was a group of people who were tagged together, had no quote unquote chemistry, rust, don't know what the procedure was. You had someone trying to holster and unholster the weapon. Come on, bruv. You don't have the right people. Literally, you had a woman, the shortest woman, literally at the front of the president, trying to be like, oh yeah, let me put my hand where his head is at, because I can't reach him with my body. Come on. The incompetence is crazy.
Director, looks like you won't answer some pretty basic questions. It looks like you got a 9% raise and you cut corners when it came to protecting one of the most important individuals, most well-known individuals on the planet. A former president, likely the guy's going to be the next president. Looks like you guys were cutting corners. That's what it looks like to me. Is that true?
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be cautious.
You might want to, but you haven't answered, I don't think you've answered one question from the chairman, the ranking member, or me. Well, we got a lot of other people asking. We'll see if your record improves, but right now you haven't answered, I don't think, any questions. I yield back.
Terrible.
How did a 20-year-old loner with a week's notice pick the absolute best location to assassinate President Trump when the entire Secret Service missed it? Director Cheadle, in your leadership, your agency got outsmarted and outmaneuvered by a 20-year-old. How can we have any confidence that you could stop trained professionals from a nefarious nation state?
Those are absolutely questions that we need to have.
I know they're questions, but the fact of the matter is we can't have that confidence. Director, do you have the ability personally, and do you have the authority to beef up security of any of your protectees?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So were you also aware there was a credible threat President Trump was facing? He was facing a heightened security threat to a foreign adversary?
Yes.
Okay. So given that there was an increased threat to President Trump's life, was he provided a full security complement akin to what a sitting U.S. president would receive?
He was provided a full complement of security based on the threat assessment that we had.
That's not my question.
And the venue.
My question is, if he'd been the sitting president, would he have had the same security he had on July 13th, or would have been beefed up?
There is a difference between the sitting president.
So your answer is he didn't.
And continuity of government and the responsibility that we have.
Just yes or no. Just be honest. All these dodging, all these, reframing the question, it's making you look suspect. And at this point, a lot of people who are saying conspiracy, a lot of all these safeguards and checks and balances, they couldn't all fall to the wayside at this critical moment. Well, what? 3 months away from the election? You're telling me this is probably when things should be ramping up. I don't know. Come on. You can't say you did the best you could and he got the same treatment that a sitting president would have, or you're implying that, and then this shit go down. Nah. And you're not answering the questions straightforward. You're not being honest. You're not being transparent. I know you're the Secret Service, but at the same time, when shit's hit the fan, you need to come out and say, hands up, we fucked up. And be honest. Either way, she's covering up something. Whether it's a conspiracy or incompetency, she's definitely covering up.
Okay, there wasn't a CAT team, full CAT team on site. There wasn't counter-surveillance teams on site.
No counter-surveillance?
You just said you had the ability to beef up the security. You knew about the threat, and you didn't. And that's as telling as it is chilling. We have satellite images from the Butler Fairgrounds. Have you visited the site?
No, I have not.
9 days and you have not visited the site. You should have been there that night. Did you talk to, that evening, did you talk to the team, the heroes that surrounded the president? Did you call them that night?
They were still operational work.
So that's an answer is no. Did you call them the next day?
President. Yes, I spoke with
You called them the very next day, not the day of. Or was it 72 hours after?
I don't know the timeline, but I spoke with
Okay,
them
because you're under oath.
immediately following.
I think it was 72 hours after. You waited 3 days.
What?
What is immediately clear is that there are a number of structures that need to be secured. Of these, Director, other than the first, immediate 4, what's the most dangerous site that should have been secured? Because security 101, you got to mitigate the high ground.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the next most dangerous site, what was the closest structure to the president, other than the 4 immediate ones that you had your counter sniper teams on?
There are a number of structures around that event site.
You know who?
Answer the question.
The shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have, and he had a drone, and he picked the AGR building. So you said, do you remember in an ABC interview you did that you didn't have people on the roof of the AGR building because you were worried about safety because of the slope?
I recall that statement.
Okay. Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about slope roofs?
No.
Okay. So why'd you act like there was one? Because is it your practice to comment on enormous events of enormous national implications when you're ignorant of the facts? That's rhetorical. So here's this thing with the slopes. You go all up to like 1812. You can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat. And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112.
Oh,
and by the way, the 112
gosh.
is ADA compliant. You can build a ramp for a wheelchair on a 112 roof. So these are nothing but pathetic excuses, and they make no sense, and they're a bunch of cow dung. All the law enforcement I've spoken with over the last 9 days are amazed that the AGR rooftop was not secure. And you want to know why? Because it's dangerous. I have never had any long gun training in my life. I own an AR-15, and last time I shot it one time my whole life. It was 6 years ago. That is until Saturday, where we recreated the events in Savoy, Texas. We recreated what happened to Butler. I was lying prone on a sloped roof at 130 yards at 6:30 at night. And I knew that he had a scope. I didn't know what kind, red dot or magnified. So I shot 8 rounds from both. You know what the result was? 15 out of 16 kill shots. And the one I missed would have hit the president's ear. That's a 94% success rate. And that shooter was a better shot than me.
What? You can't make this shit up. You can't. It's crazy. Like, the president is lucky to be alive. At first, when I saw everything go down, I was like, I don't know about this. This looks a bit suspect. Did he really get hit? Was it the shrapnel? Was it a bullet? No. Literally, the bullet barely missed him. Barely missed him. I believe a lot of it was shrapnel from like the teleprompter he was reading from. But you're telling me if that guy was just a little bit more trained or had a little bit more hours in the shooting range, he would have cleaned him out. Yo, heads must roll. Heads must roll, because imagine if other countries are looking at this. Don't get twisted. Other adversarial countries are looking at this and like, yo, this is their security. Bruh. Let's run up on them. Let's do X, Y, and Z. Let's put their country in turmoil, because at this moment in time, the United States of America has been more divided and more turmoil than I've ever seen it. Because before it was all, policies and, social issues, constitutional rights, guns controls, X, Y, and Z. Now it's like, bruv, off our way of life, our leader, our chief, our former president nearly got cleaned. Someone must pay. People are looking for scapegoats, and she's going to be the first of them. And there's going to be plenty more.
It is a miracle President Trump wasn't killed. Corey Comparatori's life is over because that damn shooter made it on the roof. And it wasn't the roof that was dangerous. It was the nut job on top of the roof. You know what else is dangerous? I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful. And you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I said Garden Doritos, you know.
Ms. Cheadle, I'd like to remind you that you're under oath. The site team has a senior supervisor, an advanced team, a protective intelligence team, a counter sniper element, and detail. Who was the agent in charge? How long has she been the agent in charge? And what is her Secret Service background?
So I'm not going to provide a name.
Why not? You're here to answer our questions.
This forum, I'm not going to provide names of.
You stated in your testimony, you said, I am here today to answer your questions.
That is correct.
Answer the question.
I'm not going to provide names of our personnel.
Why not?
Today.
The American people are demanding these answers from you today, Ms. Cheadle.
I will do the best to provide you accurate information based on the facts that I have at this time.
You're not answering our questions. The advance element coordinates with other intel or law enforcement partners, identifies threats and weaknesses at the sites and movements. We'd like a copy of the advance report. Have you brought it here with you today?
We will comply with the request for the documentation that has been requested.
When will that be, Ms. Cheadle? Because you should have brought it today.
I am certain that our personnel are working on obtaining all of that documentation.
I don't believe you, and neither do the people watching this hearing. You're not doing well, as Mr. Moskowitz informed you. You've been sitting here for over 3 hours, and I have you know the entire country is demanding you resign and demanding that you be fired if you do not resign. Things are not going well for you. You need to answer the questions. Was there a protective intelligence team, and what technical resources were utilized for that event, specifically drone or helicopter assets?
There were a number of technical assets that were deployed for that event.
Which ones?
And there was a protective intelligence team that was assigned to that event.
Details.
Why was Crooks able to fly a drone over the entire area the day of the rally and the day of his assassination attempt?
To my knowledge, he did not fly the drone over the entire area.
How did he fly a drone over the area, period? Any part of the area?
Again, I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place and when the event...
Why didn't you bring the timeline with you today to answer our questions?
I don't have all of the answers on the timelines based on the criminal investigation.
Were you not prepared today to answer our questions?
I am prepared to answer the questions based on the information and wanted to be able to provide.
Do you have a timeline do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
What? You have a timeline that doesn't have specifics? Brother, that's not a timeline at all. There's sleuths, there's internet sleuths, internet detectives out here who have pieced together the timeline from when he left his house to where he got shot. There's been people compiling all the footage we have seen from that day, from the people on the ground, compiled it, time locked every single piece of footage to give you like a 180 or 1,000 field view of everyone's perspective. You know, the main camera, people videoing on the lawns, people videoing in this crowd, people videoing like every angle. Literally locked in to audio. And you're telling me your guys can't get anything up in 3-4 days? It's been 9 days at this point. Bruh. A whole clear out. And her not giving names of officers, I hear you, protect your own and all them things there. But at the end of this hearing, those names are going to be stricken off the record and be like, sorry, you're fired. If this is not a fireable and sackable offense, I don't know what is.
That's shocking. That is absolutely unacceptable. That means you are a failure at your job. Let's talk about things that are prohibited in Trump rallies. And I've been to a lot of Trump rallies. Backpacks and bags. Bicycles. Firearms. Any type of weapon or any other item determined to be a potential safety hazard, like a rangefinder would be one, At 5:10, Crooks is first observed by one of the snipers, AGR Sniper 1, at the building. 5:10, President Trump was shot in the face at 6:11 p.m. 5:28, AGR Sniper 1 takes a picture of a bicycle and 2 bags. Those belong to Crooks.
Wow.
5:32, AGR Sniper 1 spots Crooks looking at his phone and using a rangefinder.
Wow.
5:55, Butler ESU Command confirms receipt of photos and states they have been relayed on. 6:05 p.m., AGR Sniper 1 later communicates that Crooks is seen moving northeast in direction of Sheetz and that Crooks has a backpack. 2 minutes before the shooting, while President Trump has been allowed to take the stage, people see Crooks laying on his stomach in a sniper position on the roof, and they're yelling he has a gun, and they are trying to alert law enforcement and Secret Service. Why was Crooks not shot by the snipers? Why was he allowed to be there?
As soon as the individual was identified as a threat, they were...
No. What do you consider to be
What? As soon as he got shots off, as soon as he licked shots off, that's when it's, all right, cool, take him out. What? It doesn't take you that long to respond. Clearly, you had your eyes on him for time. Why didn't you send agents to look at what he's doing, at least if you didn't want to take a shot? Oh my gosh. Who was in charge? Like, I hear she's in charge, she's the top, but who was the coordinator? Who was the head honcho on that day? We need names. We need to find her name. Because from what I know, there's been a massive push to get a lot of, women into the Secret Service. At Kimberly's, behest. She's been campaigning, say, yeah, we need more females in the Secret Service, X, Y, and Z, we need more diversity. Cool. But if that comes at the expense of the quality of the officers and the agents, that policy needs to be rebuked. Because that is a joke. But it's safe to say that Kimberly Shields is no longer the head of the Secret Service. She has officially resigned, and there should be more resignations underway. I mean, these past couple of days has been crazy. In the light of this whole assassination attempt, a lot of people have been calling for, let's reduce the tension, let's reduce the hostility, let's look at, wording things differently. Over the past couple of years, it's been, our side, their side, there's a war, we're in a battle for the soul and our heart of America. There's been words like, if it doesn't go our way, it's going to be civil war. Trump is the biggest threat. He needs to be taken out of this race by literally the president himself, Joe Biden. And now he's dropped out of the race. He says, I'm, stepping down from the race. I'm going to focus on being the president for my last couple of months in term. And now Kamala Harris is the runner. And it's crazy to think all of this has happened with me in a couple of days. A lot of literally change just like that. But there's a lot of people calling, hey, a lot's moving right now. A lot of distractions going on. Like, let's look at what's been happening in the stock markets. There's people saying, there's been a lot of suspicious trading. There's been a lot of people who are buying stocks in Truth Social, which is Trump's platform, social media. And people saying, there's a lot of companies that have got a lot of affiliations to some underhanded companies. Maybe they knew something. It's crazy how certain things that happen like that. It's the same thing with 9/11. A lot of things happened the day before the whole event that got a lot of people thinking, this is a conspiracy or is it not? There's a lot of people who know some inside information. And coincidentally, a couple of days after the shooting, there's this Microsoft update issue that just takes out a lot of government organizational framework. I mean, a lot of messages could be deleted. Maybe this is like the backdoor key to get rid of all the evidence and get rid of the history of correspondence between certain people, certain departments. Like, there's a lot going on. And I'm going to try and keep you updated as best as I can. But When we thought 2024 couldn't get any wilder, here we are today. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. This is crazy. Is America lost? Is it lost to division, lost to assassination attempts? What do you think other countries are thinking? What do you think other leaders or other enemies of America, are they thinking, yo, it's time, or, you know, is this going to bring America together? Only time can tell. And as always, you already know what I'm going to say. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Because we're trying to grow the community. And by sharing this with your friends and family, that goes a long way in helping us do that. And leaving a super thanks is very much appreciated. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
I be kidding on my foes, even though I got it all on my own. Success sweet, yeah.